We have right here in the center, moving a little bit over to your left, is Kit. She's easy to recognize. She has brown fur all over her body. Right next to Kit in the center is a sea otter who has some blonde fur on her head. Now that's Joy. And Joy, you can recognize her compared to Tula, who's our other blonde sea otter, because Tula, who's over at your far right-hand side there, Tula has two blue flipper tags on her feet. So you can tell those two otters apart pretty well just by looking at their feet. Now these colors that you'll see in the sea otter's fur, it's just the same as we have different hair colors. Everyone has different hair as a person, and sea otters have that natural variation as well. Now we've got both Tula and, Tula's in the water. We've got both Joy and Kit up here on the deck, taking a turn to come out of the water. This is pretty good to see. Even though they are designed to spend their entire lives in the ocean if they need to, they're perfectly capable of walking around up on land. You can actually see Kit bounding around pretty happily. And we wouldn't normally see this in the wild, though, not because they can't, but because sea otters here in a busy place like Monterey, they want to avoid human activity. So all the large, lazy things, strange objects, things moving around, they're going to stay away from that and usually stay in the ocean. Some protected areas like Elkhorn Slough, which is a nice protected wetland, you might see the otters coming out on the beach there. But not so much here in Monterey. Now, you'll notice that what the trainers are doing is signals. It's a combination of a verbal signal and a hand gesture. And the training that we're doing right now is what we call positive reinforcement. So we ask the otters to do something sometimes simple, like just coming up on the deck or moving to a different part of the exhibit. Sometimes more difficult, like climbing up on a practice weight scale. We ask the otters to do whatever it is, and when they do that, we do something nice for them in return. The goal is to have the otters think that every time they do something that we're asking, the best stuff is going to happen. So that's in their best interest to do whatever we're talking about. Now, for the otters, that means that if they choose to ignore us and go off and goof around and not do any of their training, they don't get in trouble. We just try and end on a positive note, so if they go off and get distracted, we'll try and bring them back with something easy, and then focus them again on lunch. Now, this food you see the otters eating right now, we've got a mixture of clam meat, like a big gooey pile we just gave to Kit there. We have some surf clam meat. We also have whole squid, which is pretty fun to watch them eat, and shrimp, which is their favorite. Now, the sea otters are eating the same sort of food they would eat out in the wild. Sea otters in the ocean eat invertebrates. So invertebrates are any animal without a backbone. You could have shellfish like clams and crabs, other things like snails, urchins, abalone, pretty much anything that doesn't have that backbone. So if you look underwater, by the way, you'll see a big school of fish. All those fish are perfectly safe in this exhibit because they're not on the menu. So otters like to eat some of the creepy crawly things on the rock and in the kelp instead. This feeding you're watching right now, by the way, is just one of 6 to 8 feedings during the day. So despite all the food you see them shoveling down right now, they still eat several more times throughout the day. This is because sea otters need to eat an incredibly ridiculous amount of food. A single sea otter eats about 1/4 of their body weight worth of food every single day. To put that in perspective, if I were a sea otter, I would have to have around over 130 sandwiches to survive today. Now, it's amazing. Sea otters are literally burning those calories to stay warm. They don't have the layer of blubber, the layer of fat that most ocean animals have. So they don't have that fat like seals and sea lions and whales and dolphins all do. It's just their fur and just burning those calories. Now, the fur I'm talking about, you can actually see pretty well on these otters right now. We've got Joy up by the window pretty close there. The otters have been rolling around. You can see their nice fluffy brown coat here. Darlene is also walking around with a sample of sea otter fur, so you can see it up close and touch it for yourself. Sea otter fur is the densest fur of any animal on the entire planet. That means it has more hairs in a single square inch than anything else. So actually, sea otters have nearly 1 million hairs in one little square inch patch. If you compare that to your average house cat, most house cats have about 1 million hairs on the entire cat. So essentially, you could take an entire kitty cat worth of fur and fit it in one little spot the size of a postage stamp on your sea otter. That fur is so physically dense that the water can't get through to touch their skin, so it's keeping them warm and waterproof too. Now, this means a couple interesting things for later. After the feeding, well, the otters have had all this food on their fur, so after the feeding, you're going to see a lot of grooming behaviors. You're going to see them rubbing with their paws, cleaning and even blowing into the fur with their mouth, and then doing what I call the spin cycle, as they're rolling to clean and rinse off that fur and work more air down into it. So keep an eye out for that after the feeding. One important thing to consider, though, is that the sea otters need that fur to be clean. It's not waterproof due to oil, it's waterproof due to just how much fur there is. So when there's oil out in the ocean, like from an oil spill, it's a huge problem for sea otters. Now, luckily, we're in a marine protected area here, but one thing we can do that really helps, when you wash your car, actually take your car to a car wash. It could be a self-wash or a machine wash, whatever you want. But when we wash our cars in the driveway, the road oil and the motor oil that gets on our vehicles, it rinses off into the street and down the storm drains. Those go unfiltered into the ocean. When you take your car to the car wash instead, the filters that they have, the drains, they go filtered into the sewer. So that's going to keep that road oil and motor oil out of our waterways. So that really helps animals like sea otters. All right, well, we're all finished with the training session here. You know, so a few of our animals finishing off the last bits of food. Feel free to stick around, though. If you have any questions, I'll come to that upstairs balcony and walk around to answer any questions you might have. Again, Darlene has a sample of sea otter fur if you want to feel that for yourself. Thank you all so much for coming, and have a wonderful day at the Otters Bay Aquarium.